If you check your bank app every morning, it's trying to tell you something, and no, it's probably not about money. Some people check their bank account 3 times a day, others check it 30 times, and the strange part is most of them already know roughly how much money is inside. So why do they keep opening the app? Why does the hand almost move automatically? And why do people sometimes check their balance, close the app, and then open it again 10 minutes later? Because your brain is not checking for money, it's checking for safety, and once you understand that, you'll never look at your bank account the same way again. Your ancestors checked bushes for predators, you check your banking app for danger. Same brain, different jungle. And that sounds dramatic until you realize how emotional money actually became. Most people think money stress comes from not having enough money, but psychologists discovered something strange. Uncertainty often creates more stress than actual financial loss. That means the brain sometimes suffers more from not knowing than from the bad news itself, and suddenly modern behavior starts making a lot more sense. Refreshing your banking app, checking transactions repeatedly, feeling anxious after seeing a low balance, feeling instant relief after a paycheck arrives, checking your account before going to sleep, checking it after ordering food, checking it after paying rent, checking it before opening a text message. This is not just finance anymore, this is psychology. And today we're going deep into something almost nobody talks about: why your bank app quietly became emotional support, why checking your balance can become addictive without you noticing, why invisible spending is more dangerous than obvious spending, why some financially successful people intentionally stop checking their accounts every day, why uncertainty quietly controls modern financial behavior, and why your relationship with money might actually be a relationship with emotional safety, because this goes way deeper than numbers on a screen. Think about this honestly. What's one of the first things many people do after waking up? Not stretching, not drinking water, not opening the curtains. They check their phone, notifications, messages, social media, and then the bank app, almost like a ritual, and most people never stop to question it. They think they're just being responsible, but there's a huge difference between being financially aware and being financially anxious, and modern banking apps quietly blur that line. Years ago people visited their bank maybe once a month, money moved slowly. Now your entire financial life lives in your pocket 24 hours a day, one tap away. Every coffee purchase, every subscription renewal, every incoming payment, every unexpected charge. Your brain sees all of it instantly, and the human nervous system was never designed for that, especially not in real time. Imagine if people 100 years ago could instantly see every tiny financial movement all day long: a $3 charge, a delayed paycheck, a rising electricity bill, a forgotten subscription. They would have gone insane too, but because we grew up with smartphones, it feels normal. And that leads us to something most people never realize. Your bank balance is no longer just information, it became emotional feedback, a score, a mood, a stress signal, sometimes even a measure of self-worth. Some people wake up and emotionally measure their worth before their feet even touch the floor, and once that happens, checking your balance stops being practical, it becomes emotional. Now here's where things get really interesting. The human brain doesn't care about money as much as it cares about certainty. Your brain constantly asks one hidden question: am I safe? That question controls far more behavior than most people realize. Thousands of years ago survival depended on food, shelter, and protection. Today the brain translates survival into modern signals, and money became one of the strongest. That's why low balances can feel emotionally intense even when logically you know you'll survive. And this is where the daily checking habit begins, not from greed, from reassurance. Every time you open the app and nothing terrible happened, your brain relaxes for a second, tiny relief, tiny dopamine hit, tiny moment of certainty, and that teaches the brain something dangerous: check again later. That's how compulsive checking slowly develops, not because people love numbers, because people crave certainty, and the scary part is most people never realize it's happening. The behavior slowly becomes automatic. Wake up, check account, feel relief, repeat. Refresh, reward, relief, repeat. That's the same psychological loop social media apps use, and modern banking apps accidentally copied parts of it. Smooth animations, instant refreshes, notifications, visual rewards, tiny emotional reactions that keep you coming back. Your bank app isn't just a tool anymore, it competes for your attention, and once you see that, you start noticing something strange. Some people don't doom scroll social media anymore, they doom scroll their finances. They refresh their account during stressful periods even when they already know nothing changed, and psychologically that makes perfect sense. Humans monitor threats, and when money feels unstable, the brain becomes hyper-alert. It's like repeatedly checking the weather during a storm. You already know the storm exists, but you keep checking anyway. And during uncertain economic periods, people sometimes open their banking app dozens of times a day even when no transactions happened. That's not financial management anymore, that's emotional monitoring. Now here's something almost nobody notices. Tiny unexpected charges create disproportionately large emotional reactions, and this happens because the brain is designed to detect anomalies, unexpected things, not totals. If you intentionally buy a $1,500 laptop, your brain prepared for it, but a random $7 subscription renewal can annoy people way more than it logically should, because it feels like something escaped your control, and control is deeply connected to financial safety. That's why invisible spending is psychologically dangerous. Subscriptions, automatic renewals, silent recurring payments. The brain barely registers them, and yet over time they quietly drain huge amounts of money. Most people remember big purchases but forget recurring micro losses. That's why so many people feel like they earn decent money yet somehow still feel broke. Usually the money isn't disappearing dramatically, it's leaking quietly. And here's another lesser-known fact. Your brain interprets available balance as spendable money even when future bills already own it. That's one reason people accidentally overspend. The brain sees the number emotionally before it understands the obligations logically. Someone sees $3,000 in their account and emotionally that feels safe, but maybe rent, insurance, taxes, debt payments, and subscriptions already account for most of it. The money looked emotionally available, but it was never actually free. And this creates a weird psychological illusion. People think they're reacting to reality, but often they're reacting to temporary snapshots. One low day creates panic, one high day creates relief, and the emotional rollercoaster never stops. Now this next part surprises a lot of people. Watching your balance too often can actually distort your perception of wealth because the brain overfocuses on liquid cash, meaning the money currently sitting in the account. Meanwhile, it ignores long-term assets, investments, retirement savings, future income, and overall financial stability. So ironically, someone can be financially stable but still constantly feel broke because they emotionally react to temporary fluctuations, and once that emotional cycle starts, money stops feeling like a tool, it starts feeling like a heartbeat. Up means relief, down means danger. Now imagine two people. One checks every balance every single day. The other checks once a week but has automated savings, stable systems, emergency funds, and long-term investments. Who usually feels calmer? Almost always the second person, because the goal isn't constant monitoring, the goal is building a system your brain trusts. And financially calm people think differently. Most people ask, how much money do I have today? Financially calm people ask, is my system working? That's a massive mindset shift. They focus on cash flow, automation, long-term investing, savings rate, predictable systems, not every tiny fluctuation, because systems are more stable than emotions. And eventually many successful people realize something important. Financial peace begins when money becomes boring, not exciting, not terrifying, not emotional, just organized. Now here's something fascinating. People with unpredictable income often become far more emotionally attached to checking their balance. Freelancers, business owners, commission workers, creators. Because unpredictable income creates uncertainty, and uncertainty creates compulsive monitoring. The brain starts scanning constantly for signs of safety. Meanwhile, people with highly stable income often check less over time because predictability calms the nervous system. That's why consistent systems matter psychologically, not just financially. Now let me tell you about something researchers noticed in behavioral finance. Humans feel losses about twice as strongly as gains, meaning losing $100 emotionally hurts much more than gaining $100 feels good. And this explains something almost everyone experienced. One unexpected charge can ruin your mood for hours even if financially it barely matters. The emotional brain reacts stronger to negative signals because that's survival wiring. Negative information always mattered more for survival. Your ancestors didn't survive by ignoring danger, and your nervous system still behaves that way today, except now the danger is financial uncertainty. Now let's talk about nighttime checking because this part is incredibly revealing. Many people check their bank balance late at night, and there's a psychological reason for that. Uncertainty becomes louder when the world gets quiet. At night your brain has fewer distractions, which means unresolved stress becomes more noticeable. That's why financial worries often feel bigger before sleep. You suddenly remember bills, payments, debt, future uncertainty, and this creates a dangerous cycle. Stress increases checking, checking increases emotional focus on money, emotional focus increases anxiety, and anxiety increases stress again. Some people fall asleep emotionally exhausted not because of work, but because their nervous system spent the entire day scanning finances for danger. Now here's something really surprising. Many people believe checking their finances constantly gives them control, but awareness and control are not the same thing. You can monitor chaos without actually reducing chaos. That's why some people know every dollar in their account yet still feel financially overwhelmed. Meanwhile, another person checks less often but has automatic systems, emergency savings, and stable habits, and psychologically they feel calmer because true financial peace usually comes from reducing uncertainty, not increasing monitoring. Now let me give you a real example. There was a guy named Daniel. Normal job, pays his bills, not rich, not broke. Every single morning before getting out of bed he checked his bank balance. One day his paycheck was delayed by just a few hours. Nothing serious, but suddenly his stress level exploded. His mood changed instantly. He became irritable, distracted, anxious, not because he actually lost money, but because uncertainty entered the picture. And that's when he realized something important. He wasn't checking his account for information, he was checking it for emotional reassurance. And once he understood that, he slowly changed his habits. He stopped opening the app first thing in the morning, he automated bills, created a small emergency fund, reduced unnecessary subscriptions, and within months his relationship with money felt calmer even though his income barely changed. That's important because sometimes financial peace comes less from earning more and more from reducing chaos. Now here's another example. A woman kept wondering why she always felt financially tight despite earning more money than ever before, so she finally tracked every recurring payment. Streaming subscriptions, cloud storage, delivery memberships, fitness apps, premium software, automatic renewals. Individually they seemed harmless and emotionally invisible, but together they added up to hundreds every month. And here's the key detail. She never felt the pain of spending because everything happened automatically. The brain barely registered it, and that's why invisible spending is so dangerous. You don't emotionally experience it in real time. And here's something even more interesting. Researchers found people often spend more easily with digital money than with physical cash because digital transactions reduce emotional friction. When cash leaves your hand, the brain feels the loss more strongly, but tapping a phone or card feels emotionally softer. That tiny psychological disconnect changes behavior dramatically over time. Now let's talk about something most people never consider. Many financial apps intentionally use calming colors like blue and green, and that's not accidental. Color psychology is a real part of modern design. These color choices reduce stress and increase trust. Some apps also use smooth animations because harsh instant updates create stronger stress reactions. The app is not just showing information, it's managing emotion, and once you realize that, you start understanding something deeper. Modern financial technology isn't just changing how we spend money, it's changing how we emotionally experience money. Now here's another surprising detail. Many financially successful people intentionally avoid checking investment accounts daily. Why? Because frequent monitoring increases emotional decision-making, and emotional decision-making often leads to worse financial choices. People panic sell, overreact, chase trends, and make impulsive decisions. Sometimes checking less actually improves long-term outcomes. That sounds backwards, but psychologically it makes complete sense because constant exposure to fluctuation creates emotional instability. And this leads to one of the most important realizations in this entire video. Many people think they need more money to feel safe, but often what they really need is less uncertainty. Those are not the same thing. A person earning a high income with financial chaos can feel constantly stressed, meanwhile someone with moderate income and stable systems can feel deeply calm because the nervous system values predictability. And maybe that's the real reason some wealthy people still feel anxious while some ordinary people sleep peacefully. One group built income, the other built certainty. Now think about this honestly. How many times have you checked your bank account not because you needed information but because you needed reassurance? That changes the way you see the habit, doesn't it? And once you notice it, you start seeing the emotional patterns everywhere. The stress after unexpected charges, the relief after payday, the anxiety before bills, the Sunday night money stress after weekend spending, the urge to check after buying something expensive, the emotional crash after seeing a lower number than expected. This isn't weakness, it's human psychology reacting to modern financial systems, but awareness changes everything. Because once you realize what your brain is actually searching for, you can stop treating symptoms and start fixing causes. Instead of endlessly monitoring money, you can reduce uncertainty itself through emergency savings, automated bills, fewer hidden subscriptions, clear systems, predictable routines, and long-term planning. Those things calm the brain far more effectively than checking your balance 20 times a day. And eventually something interesting happens. Money becomes quieter in your mind. Not because you became rich overnight, but because your nervous system stopped treating finances like constant danger. And maybe financial peace isn't the moment you finally have enough money. Maybe it's the moment your nervous system finally believes you're safe. So what is your bank app really trying to tell you every morning? Usually not that you need more money. More often it's saying you don't feel certain, you don't feel fully in control, and you don't feel safe yet. An understanding that can completely change your relationship with money. So here's a challenge. For the next 7 days, don't check your banking app first thing in the morning. Wait 1 hour and pay attention to what you feel. Does your brain feel uncomfortable, restless, anxious? That reaction tells you something important. Maybe the habit was never really about information. Maybe it was reassurance all along. And now I'm curious. How often do you check your bank account? And do you think it's habit or stress? Let me know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this kind of psychology meets money content. Disclaimer. The content provided on this channel is for informational, educational, and entertainment purposes only and does not constitute financial, investment, legal, or tax advice. All opinions, analyses, and statements expressed are based on personal experience, personal research, and publicly available information and are subject to change without notice. No guarantee is made regarding the accuracy, completeness, or reliability of any information presented. Investing in stocks, cryptocurrencies, ETFs, or any other financial instruments involves substantial risk and may result in the partial or complete loss of capital. Past performance does not guarantee future results. Nothing on this channel should be interpreted as a recommendation, solicitation, or endorsement to buy or sell any securities or financial products. All investment decisions are made solely at your own risk and responsibility. Viewers should conduct their own independent research and consult with a licensed financial advisor, tax professional, or legal advisor before making any financial decisions. The creator of this channel assumes no liability for any financial losses, damages, or other consequences arising directly or indirectly from the use of the information provided in this content.